Justin, another episode of the Total BS podcast is here. How's your Sunday going?
Man, my Sunday is great, Saul. We have a great guest on tap for today's episode. This guest does a little bit of everything, so we're going to talk about a lot of different topics and a lot of interesting topics. But first and foremost, Saul, I just want you to know that this fantasy football league ain't big enough for the two of us. All right? So I'm up by 5 points as of the time we're recording this podcast. Saul, if you somehow beat me in fantasy football, I will get a Total BS podcast tattoo.
What? Dude,
Yes.
That's blasphemy, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey,
We're
go,
going
Kenny
bold
Drake.
this episode.
We need to step it up, Kenny Drake. Let's go. We got too much on the line tonight. Total BS podcast coming up your way right now.
Your fans just might turn into all fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us, yo. Your fans just might turn into all fans. Be cool, it's just part of the program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You're not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. For real.
Justin, we got a pretty cool guest on tonight. Why don't you do the introductions?
So when I was thinking about cool guests, guys that we can bring on, just overall great people in the sports media world, one of the first guys that came to my mind was the guy that we have waiting on the other side, and that is Jeff Eisenband. If you don't know about Jeff Eisenband, well, then obviously you don't exist on Twitter, and you need to get on Twitter and give this man a follow because he does a little bit of everything. He works for MSG Networks. He's also with NBA 2K League, so he does some esports, and he's also the Hall of Trivia host on HQ Trivia. This guy does a little bit of everything. He's based out of New York, so he's joining the podcast super late at night on the East Coast. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
I mean, look, you called me cool. You said that people have probably come into contact with me somewhere. If they haven't, that's all right. I haven't annoyed you yet. That's okay. You know, I don't want to ruin their night or anything like that yet. But thank you so much for inviting me on here, guys.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No problem. It's our pleasure as always. With any guest, we love them. And let's get started real quick with esports because you got the NBA 2K League shirt hanging in the background, and you've been involved in the esports space for a while now. Just tell us about how you got into it and what you've seen over the course of your journey that's changed from A to Z.
Oh yeah. Well, so I always start, I graduated college from Northwestern in 2015. And so my first job was working as an editor at the postgame.com, which at the time was the Yahoo sports site. And there were a lot of people. I'd go to events covering sporting events in the New York area or networking events. And people would say, esports, it's the new thing. League of Legends, this game, it's sold out Madison Square Garden. You're young, you play video games, you should get into it. And what I told those people at first was, I'm in this for sports media, and those games like League of Legends, CSGO, what we call traditional esports, your PC, World of Warcraft world sort of video games, that's not the same audience as the people playing NBA 2K, playing Madden, playing NHL, playing those traditional sports video games. So I said, look, I understand esports is an incredibly growing field. I live in that sort of space, in terms of being sports video games, competition, but I'll wait till it's, something for me. And some things, I met some people at the NBA. I started hosting content in 2017 for the NBA Twitch channel, which was basically just me and NBA players hanging out, playing NBA 2K. Best job you could possibly think of. And then the NBA 2K League started, and I said, look, it was the same guys from the NBA doing it. I said, how can I get involved? How can this is a game that I play with my friends that I love, that I want to cover. And they said, here, we're going to give you a microphone, first draft 2018. Go interview the guys after they get drafted. See if you get anything. If it's good, we'll put it in the stream. We'll put it on social media. And I'm interviewing these guys. And they're like, I gave my 2 weeks notice. I'm a truck driver. I'm in Amazon. I work at an Amazon plant. I package boxes, and I just left to play video games for the Knicks for a living. Someone said they were from the State Department. And I was like, look, there are so many stories to tell in this space that's new, that's growing, that I love. And that's really what I've jumped in and tried to be a storyteller in the esports space.
One of the comments from one of our viewers, Mark J. Burns on YouTube, says, but he's a Northwestern football fan. Talking about you, Jeff. Are you a Northwestern graduate?
I am. So first of all, Mark works for SBJ, and we're each other's unofficial hype men. So I'm glad Mark is in here. And Mark went to Michigan, so he wants to point that out. By the way, Northwestern annihilated Maryland yesterday. So Northwestern football's back. I am a graduate of Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism, and listen, Northwestern was in the Big Ten West Championship hanging with Ohio State in the third quarter in Indy. I was there 2 years ago. So Northwestern football, listen, they will win a championship in my lifetime. That's what I tell people.
Yeah,
it's like you say Northwestern football's back. I'm like, don't you have to be somewhere in order to come back?
Big Ten West champs 2018, baby. Pat Fitzgerald just won his 100th game.
But tell us what you've seen that has been so different in the esports space. When we talk about not only who's jumping online, but also the engagement that you're seeing across the board. I'm sure in the last 6 to 8 months, because of COVID, things have changed probably drastically because more eyes are in digital and especially esports.
Yeah. Let me start with, so I feel like you guys will like this. When people ask me, why does anyone want to watch people play video games? I say, when I was 12 or 13, that was right around the time that Madden NFL Nation came out on ESPN, which if you remember, they rode around the Madden bus. It was like everyone represented one team and the last man standing on the bus. They went to different bars and locations and they'd play. And I was so hyped to watch because Madden was the game in the 2000s. I'm like, I'm going to learn. I'm going to watch the best players, see the best skills. And it was just scripted for 23 minutes of television. It was like a documentary series. They'd show maybe the last play of the game. And I felt like I just want to see them play. And I just missed, nowadays, Gen Z, kids want to see the best people playing their video game, whether that be Fortnite, whether that be NBA 2K or something else. They just type on Twitch, that game, and they see who's playing the best, who's, has the highest streaming numbers at that moment. They want to see the best highlights. They search on YouTube, their game, how to do something, and they figure it out. And it's the same way that we just turn on sports at night. You've always been able to basically turn on sports at night if you're a sports fan. That's how the video game world works. Now, COVID has, what I would say is everything was trending toward esports were becoming so much more mainstream. I think COVID in 6 months probably expedited what would have happened in 2 years. And what a lot of that is normalizing to a lot of people video games. I think that there's so many of the haters on social. Why would I ever sit and watch someone play video games? Get this off my linear TV channel. But when there was nothing going on and people saw that was happening, they're like, okay, this isn't as weird as I might have thought. And especially if in a sports game world, and look, they had the NBA 2K players tournament. Madden had different players tournament. FIFA, there were a lot of that, which I almost call celebrity games. They're like the celebrity basketball game. Like if you're an actual gamer and you're watching these guys play, you're like, they're not the best, sure. but it's entertaining. And I think that's different than the actual esports level. But I think that those celebrity games, those influencers playing, I think it's normalized a lot of it for a lot of people, just thinking like, okay, I get it now. And at the end of the day, it's competition. It's definitely more interactive. You guys talk digital, you go onto Twitch, people are typing in the Twitch chat, what's going on. People are engaging with, the broadcasters are actually speaking sometimes directly to the viewers via the chat. So there's a lot of that connection going on that you don't get with traditional TV.
Growing up, I never thought video games would be what it is right now. And even, recently, because, Saul and I, we're not too far removed from college. I remember going to the student union at the University of Arizona and walking down to the basement and seeing an entire room filled with kids playing League of Legends and World of Warcraft. And I think Apex was also another game that recently, became, big time mainstream. But now, we're starting to see esport arenas being built all over the place. Like just in the Phoenix area alone, there's going to be like 4 new esports arenas being built over the next year. And I just never thought like we would get to a point where they're building actual arenas for people playing video games.
I believe Rutgers is even in the Big Ten has built an esports arena and it's decked out. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible.
So there's well, here's two sides to this. One, if you guys want to open up your wallets, esports real estate is a great investment. And the reason there's two reasons here. One, I want to start with, at the beginning of this pandemic, a lot of people came to me and they said, "This is, it's unfortunate what's going on, but this is esports' moment, right?" I'm like, hold on one sec. All of the top level esports, the NBA 2K League, the Call of Duty League, Overwatch League, League of Legends and the competitions that they have. The Fortnite World Cup didn't happen this year. A lot of the events are designed to be done in person. They're designed to have a crowd the same way that sports have a crowd. That that crowd reinforcement, that something crazy can happen and you can get that crowd reaction. Players, especially in the NBA 2K League, players feed off being right across from their competition, and they're talking trash in between plays and stuff, and you're taking out a lot of that element. So I think there was even hesitance from esports at the beginning. Do we want to do remote gameplay that even in today's day and age, you never know what's going to happen, when you're basically relying over the internet as opposed to actually playing localized, against each other. And then on top of that, you're not putting out the best broadcast product possible because you don't have everyone there. Now, in terms of these arenas, it's very interesting what they're doing because it's not just the competition. A lot of these arenas, and Vegas is the standard of the industry. The esports arena, HyperX esports arena out there in Vegas was kind of the first one that, they're designed for competition and not for huge audiences, maybe a few hundred, some of them get to a couple thousand, but that they're also open for people who want to come and maybe stream and they're trying to be Twitch streamers, or they want to do a competition for their friends and they want to be around the best technology possible to make that run. So those arenas have basically studios where people can come and do their own content along with it. So they're multi-purposed in that sort of way. And then I truly believe, and this pandemic maybe has slowed things down a little bit, but I used to say 10 years, maybe it'll be 12 years, maybe it'll even be faster because of that normalization I talked to. Maybe it'll be 5 to 8 years that you'll have maybe in Tucson or Phoenix, take Phoenix, for example. You might have an esports arena that's built there that has 5 different esports leagues that have home teams there. You have Arizona teams, maybe in the NBA 2K League, there's an NHL League, a FIFA League, Overwatch League, Call of Duty League. They all play their home competitions out of that same arena the same way. I know in the Phoenix area, I guess the Suns and Coyotes play in different arenas, but at one time, I think they played in the same arena. Mm-hmm. So, having that classic form of having multiple teams in one arena, I think esports can go down that route eventually.
For sure. We just scratched the surface on esports, obviously, but in the interest of time, we'll cut that part short. But moving on to another digital aspect of what you do is the HQ trivia. And first of all, it's for those of you who jumped on the HQ trivia bandwagon and then fell off and then maybe came back on or whatever, tell the people out there, what's different about what you do versus what maybe they might have seen a year ago.
So what people, HQ trivia, still an app, still on every night at 9:00. Matt Richards is the main host. Great guy. Met him for the first time last week. We bonded immediately. And it's your classic, still 12 questions. There's usually a $5,000 or $10,000 pot that's split between whoever's left. Still works that same way. And now what I'm a part of is a competition that's going to be every Thursday night at 8:00, specifically during this NFL season. It's football and fantasy driven. So we add an element of fantasy football in there. It's sponsored by the Hall of Fantasy League, which was known as the Crown League, and the Hall of Fame Village, or the Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Group, which is part of the Hall of Fame Village out in Canton right now. They're basically building Disney World for Canton. They're going to turn what you think of Cooperstown, I think as like the Baseball Hall of Fame being the whole city. That's what they're going to do with Canton. And so we're incorporating a mix basically of football history questions and what just went on in the NFL. I don't know what the questions are going to be, but who knows what sort of game. Let's say Kyler Murray goes off and throws for 7 touchdowns, in this game. We might have a question that's what quarterback threw for the most touchdowns ever in an NFL game or something feeding off of that. Yeah, and things might change as we go along. This is how we've gotten started.
Mm-hmm. And, you've done a number of gigs as a sports journalist / sports personality. Is this something that you kind of want to do in hosting trivia sessions and doing something like this? Because I always loved Sports Jeopardy with Dan Patrick as the host.
Oh, incredible.
I love that.
That was incredible.
Is that something you always want to do?
I mean, sports and trivia and sports trivia together is always something that I'm just obsessed with, to the point that people feel like I'm annoying. I was just sitting watching 2 hours of Jeopardy on Netflix a few minutes ago. So, it's something that I love it. And it's one of those, it's one of those surreal things. As I was driving to host the first show, I was like thinking about watching HQ when it was starting and thinking, I could do this. We all said that. And I'm like, wait, I get to be the guy right now that stands in front of that green screen and does this for sports. And when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, I have to go for this. I have to put in everything. I have to make sure that people know that I am committed to this. Like, I want this. So it's an awesome kind of feeling. And it's cool because it is such a, it's a production. I don't think Alex Trebek sits with the Jeopardy production team and goes through every question, but I'm helping. We're having these production conversations, basically figuring out the direction of where we want these questions to go. So I'm through the roof. The only problem with it is I don't get to actually engage and actually participate. So I can't test my knowledge, but I can at least portray, I think, what I would think I'd want if I was on the other side playing a football trivia show.
Finally, obviously, let's get to some real sports, some real life sports, not real sports. Esports is a definite
IRL.
thing.
IRL is what we call them. In
there
real
you
life
go.
Sports.
In real life sports. Whose fan base do you feel worse for? And I know you're a Giants fan, so we're not going to go down.
I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
You have your fair share of disappointment, I'm sure. But between the Cowboys and the Falcons, I mean, who's got it worse?
I do not feel ever in my life, will never feel 1 ounce of remorse toward Dallas Cowboys fans. I take the, that's I'm not worried about that. The Atlanta Falcons, I mean, what's gone on in Atlanta? It's gone on to the point that everyone's talking about, the Braves, the bad bounces that they took. And, now it's with the Falcons, and the Hawks have had their trouble. And people aren't even mentioning the Atlanta Thrashers moved. Not only the Atlanta Thrashers, Atlanta has had 2 NHL teams come and say, this could be a market for us. The Atlanta Flames, or now the Calgary Flames, were in there too, and they've left. So I just feel terrible for Atlanta fans. I tweeted today that Arthur Blank with that pose that he had on the sideline. Like, he shouldn't get a bust. He shouldn't get a bust in Canton. It should just be a statue of him on the sideline. Like that epitomizes the Atlanta Falcons in the Arthur Blank era.
It's the kiss of death, man. Every single time he stands on the sideline, it's guaranteed that the Falcons are going to lose. And one stat that I saw on Twitter that I think is absolutely nuts, that in 4 games this year, the Atlanta Falcons were at a point where they had like a 98% chance in winning the game, and they found a way to lose them all.
The crazier stat is they had a 90. If Todd Gurley doesn't roll into the end zone or put the ball over the goal line, they had a 99% chance of winning that game. When he crossed the goal line, they still had a 97.5% chance to win that game. And somehow the Falcons falconed. It's amazing.
So I have a couple of takes on that. First of all, remember Gurley for the Rams a couple of years ago, like twice in the season, fell with an open touchdown. So he knows exactly like what he's supposed to do there, right? This happened twice in 2 days because it happened to Penn State, had the same sort of thing go on yesterday. And as you mentioned, a Giants fan who was an objective journalist at the Super Bowl when Ahmad Bradshaw fell into the end zone. And if you remember, that gave the Patriots some life. They had a Hail Mary to the end zone that people still say if Gronk was healthy, he might have caught. I was like, I'm thinking this weekend the Giants got bailed out because these other teams who did the same exact thing as Ahmad Bradshaw lost, but the Giants won that Super Bowl, and barely anyone remembers that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, we appreciate you joining us today on the Total BS Podcast. Go ahead, Justin. You have some
real
trivia,
quick.
actually.
Yes.
I forgot about
Yes.
that. My bad.
Yes.
I'm so nervous. I should have tried to get this out of him before.
I can't bring on the sports trivia guy without doing some trivia.
Jeff, I don't know any of these questions. He said I was going to play 2, so full disclosure.
I'm going to embarrass myself.
Saul versus Jeff. My first question. How many dimples are on an average golf ball?
114.
Is it A, 336, B 300, C 212, or D 640?
Ooh, I'll go 212.
Okay.
What was the 330 was one that you said in there?
336. Yep.
336.
There you go. The sports trivia guy gets the first question.
This guy, look at him.
right.
All right. Here we go.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna count my luck right now.
All right. Next question. Jeff up 1-0. Next question is first player to ever score 2,000 points in an NBA season. Is it A, Bill Russell, B, Wilt Chamberlain, C, George Yardley, or D, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
I mean the one city, it has to be. I'm going to say Wilt, although there's one other option.
I'm going to go Kareem.
Neither.
It's
It is George Yardley.
Yardley. Yeah.
It is George Yardley. I was so stunned when I found that out. All right. So Jeff's still up 1-0. The next question is best rookie passer rating in the history of the NFL. Is it Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, or Russell Wilson?
I'm going to say that it's Dak Prescott.
That's exactly who I was going to say as well.
Both of you guys got it right. That's the correct answer.
That was look. I Brady and Mahomes barely played their rookie year, but Russell Wilson had a good rookie. You know, it could have been a sneaky one. I know Dak won offensive rookie of the year, so that's why I went with him.
All right, so 2-1 in favor of Jeff. Two more questions. The terms stale fish and mule kick are used in what sport? Snowboarding, skiing, cricket, or badminton?
It's got to be badminton.
Oh, I'm going to go cricket.
Neither. Snowboarding.
Damn it.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it's like, oh man, that's like a sick stalefish. You know?
Yeah. Mule kick, gnarly.
Yeah,
Do snowboarders say gnarly? Is that what's like snowboarder lingo?
I feel like gnarly is more surfer, but
Yeah.
shred gnar is snowboarding. Absolutely.
All right, last one. Who was the first NBA player since Michael Jordan to win consecutive MVPs? Is it this three options here? Steve Nash, Tim Duncan, or LeBron James?
Steve Nash.
It's Tim Duncan.
It's Tim Duncan.
Damn it.
0203.
Consecutive MVPs. I knew I was going to get Saul with that one because I knew this man was going to pick Steve Nash because he's got two. So, Jeff Eisenband, sports trivia
Steve
guy.
Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs.
He did.
So it wasn't just because it's not just because he won two. It's because they were back-to-back.
Duncan was the first one.
But Duncan won.
When did Duncan win?
I believe I said I think 0203 was when Duncan won him.
0203.
Okay.
Correct.
I was about to contest
and what Nash was
game.
0506, I think.
Yeah.
Jeff, thanks again for joining us. Tell the people where they can find you.
Well, first of all, obviously I read too much Wikipedia. At Jeff Eisenband on all social, JEFFEISENBAND, and watch Hall of Trivia on HQ on the HQ app Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. I know you guys got the people out there in Arizona.
Yeah. You got to get the Pacific time in there for sure.
But I don't know if you're 2 hours or 3 hours apart. I have to think about it with you Arizona people.
It's about to be 2 hours here pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But Jeff, thank you so much for joining us again. Best of luck to you as you move forward in your career and all the cool stuff that you're getting into. And hopefully we'll cross paths again sometime.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
You're the man, Jeff. Thank you.
All right. That's Jeff Eisenband. I mean, dude, talk about an impressive person who's got their hands in a little bit of everything, especially in the esports. You know, he made a point about the linear. And for those of you who are not familiar with broadcast lingo, you know, linear means TV, right? And in broadcast, it means linear to digital. Digital's obviously what you're watching us on right now, Facebook, YouTube. But then you're also talking about your app streams and your websites and things of that nature. And when he was talking about, you know, trying to get people to understand the value of digital, I mean, that's a fight that I have every day of my life because of my job and the current, in the current position that I'm in. And it's fascinating that he's going down these many different routes and really coming across in digital and doing it in a very successful manner. Esports, I think I read a stat. No, I know I read a stat. I'm just trying to make sure I get it right, but I'm pretty sure esports is the third most popular sport in the world right now.
Wow. Regardless of anything, it's just guys playing video games.
It goes soccer, it goes basketball, and then it goes esports.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's amazing.
Now it's not like that in America, obviously, but it's remarkable. And the outlets and the people that can get their hands around digital and esports and trivia and anything that can engage fans the most and the quickest and the smartest are the ones that are going to really reap the benefits here in the short term, and like especially in the next 5-10 years. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. So
yeah.
Anyway, Justin, that was really cool of Jeff to come on, but what's not really cool is watching Andy Dalton get smothered on the field. I hate the Cowboys. You know that. I do not like the Cowboys at all. I don't have any sense of, there's nothing inside of me that feels bad for the Cowboys. But at the same time, that hit that Andy Dalton took, I just felt like, wow, man, there's a code that you got to live by when you're in the NFL. And I know it's competition, but it's also don't take away another man's paycheck.
Yeah.
And what happened on that field was just dirty.
It is. And the biggest thing that I took away from that hit was it seemed like nobody wanted to stand up for Andy Dalton afterwards. Because if that was my teammate, if that was my quarterback, you best believe whoever was the guy that made that hit was going to feel my presence.
Oh,
for
sure.
And if that's a real team right there, there would have been several guys going after that player. And I'm not saying, sit here and start a brawl and start swinging at these guys and getting into a fight, but you got to let these guys know you can't do that. And there's no place in the league for that kind of behavior. And especially you're doing that to my quarterback right now.
Yeah.
That right there tells me the culture of the Dallas Cowboys right now. And, Mike McCarthy, great coach with the Green Bay Packers, but right now it just doesn't seem like he's got a good grip on this team. And, that might change next year when everybody gets healthy and Dak Prescott comes back and, they kind of go back to the Cowboys, the team that's been leading the NFC East for all these years. But this year, there just seems to be no culture. And fortunately for the Cowboys, they're playing in probably the shittiest division in football right now, because if they were in any other division, they'd be at the cellar and there's no way of them getting back. But man, I feel for Andy Dalton, man, because, he didn't have the career that everybody thought he was going to have, but, he still took the Bengals to the playoffs all those years. He didn't win a damn thing in the playoffs, but he was still a solid quarterback. And you thought, okay, maybe he can do something with Dallas to get them to a point where they can at least win the division and get to the playoffs, and whatever happens. But I feel for Andy Dalton. And who the hell is Ben DiNucci?
Yeah. The pride of Delaware State or something like that?
James Madison.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't know James Madison had a football team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy.
They did.
I mean, this is why people get so frustrated with the Cowboys, right? They have all this talent on paper. They always have talent on paper. And they find a way to just kind of blow games and blow opportunities, lose games that they shouldn't be losing. And then something like Dak Prescott happens, and you could be 3-3, maybe 4-2 on the season, but instead you're 2-3, and you go into Monday Night Football and you face the Cardinals and you get mollywopped, and you go to 2-4, and then you face the Redskins on the road. You lose your backup quarterback. Now you're 2-5. You're lucky you're in the worst division of all time. You're still a contender. You're still in the running to host a playoff game at home. But let's be real, the Cowboys are not a good football team. Not even close. And I don't know who's going to run away with that division. I have a feeling it might be the Eagles. But at this point, if you're the Cowboys fans out there, listen up. You bitched and complained about Dak Prescott. Some of you were like, oh, you crapped all over Tony Romo. Guess what? You deserve every little bit of this. Every little bit. Why? Because you didn't appreciate a good quarterback when you had him. So what? You couldn't win a playoff game. You still got to the playoffs. You still watched some really great football. But it's like you guys forgot about the Quincy Carter era and the Drew Henson era. Like, it's like that just didn't even exist anymore. And those guys were awful, awful. They even tried Ryan Lee for a second. Awful. And then they got Tony Romo. And it was like, oh, maybe we're going to turn the corner there. And Tony did everything he could to get them to relevance. And then they drafted Dak Prescott, and Dak took over. Like, I mean, fortunate for like maybe the last 10 years, they've had good quarterback play until now. And then people were still even saying, oh, I'd rather have Andy Dalton instead of Dak Prescott anyway. Like, really? You would? Like, there's just, oh my gosh, no. It's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So, Cowboys fan, you deserve every little bit of what you're getting right now. There's no sympathy from me on my end, that's for sure.
And there's zero from me as well, even though I like the Dallas Cowboys / New York Yankees of the NBA, which is the Los Angeles Lakers. You know, they just have Saul rolls his eyes. But in terms of global recognition and popularity, Dallas Cowboys are it. You know, they're America's team for a reason, even though I really don't think they actually are America's team.
No, I don't think so either.
But the Cowboys today, Saul, like you said, you know, not only did they lose, but they got spanked by the Washington football team. How do you lose by that many points for a team that doesn't even have a nickname, a team that doesn't even have a mascot? Like, they're literally just called the football team, and they won by 3 touchdowns today. Kyle Allen had 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Who the hell is Antonio Gibson? He had 128 rushing yards today. Who the hell is Terry McLaurin? I don't know any of these guys on the Washington football team. And like you said, the Cowboys have all these dudes on paper that are pretty good, but they're not able to stop anybody.
They're like the replacements. They're the replacements. They're like the replacements, man. That's all that is. So, Big Ten football came back yesterday. That was pretty interesting to see. It was actually pretty fun to watch. You know, Ohio State was it looked like they might be on the ropes there for a little bit, but then they were like, oh, no, we're Ohio State, and they absolutely just crushed Nebraska. And then the game of the day was Indiana somehow, some way, finding a way to come back and win that game on a miraculous reach score, which, to be honest, I don't really feel like that was in, but because they called it a touchdown, they had to stick with it. I'm not convinced, but there was nothing really conclusive enough to overturn it. What did you think about that play?
Man, that was awesome. And everything about that play shows that football is a game of inches. Mm-hmm. Everything matters. Like that right there, just that the little nose of the football decided the outcome of the game. And, you know, when he was running around the corner to the left side, it looked like he was going to get stopped maybe a couple yards short. And even when he dove, I thought he was going to be short at the 1 yard line. But the way he stretched out his arm, he looked like Michael Jordan in Space Jam with the last dunk. Just continue to stretch out that arm and was able to get the nose just inside of the pylon. I thought that was awesome. You know, Indiana football, they always seem to be that team in the Big Ten that doesn't really do anything every year, but they always find a way to be competitive in games and play spoiler, you know, for some teams. And Penn State, you know, a ranked opponent, a really good team this year. So it should be interesting to see how, you know, Penn State bounces back. But Ohio State, man, I mean, that's a team right there. You know, Justin Fields, I mean, if he continues to ball out, I mean, I could see him making a case to win the Heisman this year, which is crazy because they started a little over a month compared to everybody else. So,
yeah,
you know, it was good. It was good to get college football back all the way around. Now let's get the Pac-12 back, baby, and get everybody back on board.
Justin, I'm going to say this as delicately as possible. I don't really care if the Pac-12 comes back. I don't even know if they're going to make it. I don't even know if they're going to make an impact, To be honest with you, there's not one team in the Pac-12 right now that you could look at and be like, oh yeah, that's a national title contender. There's not one. Not Oregon, not USC, not ASU. And honestly, man, this is going to hurt me to say this, and I don't even want to say it out loud. But if there was a team out there that could possibly do it, it would be ASU.
Thank you.
They have all the parts. They
Yeah.
do. They have the size to compete on both lines. They have the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, who, if he plays really well, he's not going to win the Heisman this year. I don't care if he throws for 16 million yards this year, because they're only going to play 7 games. So he's always going to be undercut by the big time programs. But they have a lot of great tools and a lot of great assets. People are sleeping. I couldn't believe that USC was such a big favorite in game 1 against ASU. Again, I think a Pac-12 team who would have to go undefeated to get into the playoff. And even then, I don't even know if that's going to matter, because if you have 4 teams that are undefeated, and then you have your 5th team that's a Pac-12 team that's undefeated, but one team plays a 7-game schedule and the other one plays 10 or 11, dude, you're not winning. You're not winning that argument.
I'm glad you brought up ASU, Saul, because I actually wrote a story on ASU and how they could compete for not only a Pac-12 title, but they can make a case to get into the CFP if they actually go undefeated. Herm Edwards has done such a great job with that program. And you remember when I talked about culture with the Dallas Cowboys, that's one thing that ASU has right now under Herm is culture. All the coaches, all the players have bought in, and it's like almost like a CEO style of coaching. Herm Edwards has a lot of trust in his coaching staff. He loves Marvin Lewis and Antonio Pierce as the co-defensive coordinators. Marvin Lewis is going to handle everything on the field. And while Antonio Pierce is going to do his thing as a coach, he's also one of the top recruiters in college football and on the West Coast right now. So ASU has a lot of buzz. And Saul, even though they lose Brandon Ayuk to the NFL and Eno Benjamin, those are 2 all Pac-12 players. Like those are big losses for ASU. I've heard nothing but great things about their wide receivers that they have brought in and their running backs as well. And looking at their schedule, I'm telling you what, if they get past USC that first game, which by the way, they're 11-point underdog, which is dumb. If I'm a betting man, and maybe we'll talk about this with our guy Eckert, I'm taking the Sun Devils in that to cover that game. Plus that's also a 9 a.m. kickoff, very first game of the season. Who's to say USC doesn't have a little bit of rust? And Saul signaling touchdown.
Kyler, baby. Kyler.
To who? Did he run it in?
Himself. He ran it in.
Damn it. I was hoping it was going to be DK Metcalf or DeAndre Hopkins.
No.
DeAndre Hopkins. Sorry. But, if ASU gets past USC that first game, which I think they could because of everything that I just said, then the next game, they got Cal. Cal's another sneaky good team in the Pac-12 that was voted to finish second. Those are the most difficult games on ASU's schedule. Cal's the only crossover game. After that, ASU's got to play the rival Arizona at the last game of the season, which I think the Sun Devils are going to win. A rebuilding Colorado team, a Utah team that has a bunch of question marks all over the field because they lost a lot of talent. And then they got UCLA. I think if ASU gets through the first 2 games, I can honestly see them going undefeated. And I know that pains a lot of our UA fans.
Now, just to make our U of A fans and our U of A, our alums feel a little bit better, don't worry, folks, because even if ASU makes it, they're going to find a way to choke because that's what they do. It's okay. Everybody just chill. Just chill. It's all right. 1997, remember 1997 when Jake Plummer dove into the end zone and there was a little bit over a minute left to go in the game, and Joe Germain, who went to Mesa Community College and was playing for Ohio State, drove him right down the field and threw a touchdown pass to David Boston to pretty much end the Rose Bowl. And that night, Florida loses to Florida State. Had ASU won that game, ASU would have been the national champions in 1997. But it didn't happen. And just to put a little icing on top in 1997, who won the national championship in men's basketball that year?
The Cats.
That's right, baby.
Cats.
So every time an ASU guy wants to throw out a little bit of Rose Bowl love, all we got to do is trumpet with the national championship. You know what I mean? I don't know why I said trumpet, but you know what I mean. So anyway, speaking of what I just mentioned. Now, Justin, you shared a tweet with me today, and unfortunately, I was having some technical difficulties. But you have a guy that was a little inebriated on the ocean front as he was.
It looked like a yacht. It was a yacht / very large boat, and this guy was intoxicated, driving into the marina to park the yacht, and he completely missed everything. Like, he hit another boat that was docked. He hit another dock and just destroyed everything. He destroyed one piece of his boat, like 1/4 of the boat was just completely shredded. And all of this was because he was drunk while driving the boat. And listen, I don't care if you're out on the water. I don't care if you're just chilling in your neighborhood. Do not get behind the wheel of any vehicle if you have been drinking alcohol, because it is just a recipe for disaster. And, you know, I've seen, you know, the dumbest things happen when people get drunk. Believe it or not, you can actually get a DUI just by riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
You know, you could be drunk as hell and thinking, oh, I'm just riding a bike. But if a cop sees you riding a bicycle and you look intoxicated, he's going to give you a DUI. And imagine that. You get a driving under the influence for driving a bicycle. Now, it's not nearly as costly as this guy with the boat, because not only does he have to pay for his damage, he's also got to pay for the marina's damage with the dock and also the other boat as well. So, moral of the story, don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly, friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good message there. Good message. Don't be that guy this week. I kind of pondered whether or not to do this or not, but I will go down this road because of the political climate. Okay. I don't care who you vote for. I don't. I honestly, to my core, I don't care. But what I do care about is decency, right? And there was a video today that I saw where this guy had literally broken down in his car and he was stuck in the middle of the road. And it just so happened to be right before a caravan of Trump supporters came by. And I don't even say Trump supporters. I say Trump fanatics because, you know, they got the bells and the whistles, right? The flags and, you know, they're honking their horns and they're all trucks. And it's like, you know, it's like my Trump 2020 starter kit going on. You know what I mean? Like, all right, cool. And the guy that was broken down was a black guy. And you can hear it. You can hear it just slur. Like, what in the hell's going on? And one gentleman who was in that caravan pulled over and helped the guy out because he was like, listen, like we can belong to whatever, party or support whatever candidate, but that doesn't mean human decency is all, is lost out the window. And so when you are out and about and you feel passionate about a candidate, and I think we all have to be cognizant of this, right? You don't really like to talk about politics in the workplace. You can't talk about, you got to be careful who you approach and who you talk about this, that, and the other with. You just got to be careful in your approach, right? Because you don't want to come off as completely being ignorant and not even listening to one side. And that's what's wrong with a big part of this country on both sides, right? You got your liberals who refuse to hear any conservative messaging at all, or the reason why conservatives feel one way or another. And then you have your conservatives who refuse to listen to the other side. And it's just like, people, we're not getting anywhere. Yeah. Like, shut up and just listen to each other for a second. And yes, we're, again, the late RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was best friends with Scalia, the other justice who had passed away, I think 4 or 5, or maybe 6 years ago. And they had such a tight relationship, and they were absolute liberal conservative opposites. and they didn't agree all the time, but they understood what the big picture was between the two, and they could listen to each other. And those are the two that I would use as an example. And I just don't feel like we listen to people enough. We don't listen to each other enough. You know, I've had conversations with other people who share opposing viewpoints, and I want to hear them out. And when I get up from that conversation, I don't feel ill towards them. I appreciate the fact that they took the time to explain to me why they feel this way about whatever's going on. And I appreciate that they allowed me to share my views, and we got up, and it's all great. We went out to dinner. It's all good. It's all good. That's all I'm saying, man. Don't be ignorant. Don't be stupid, and just listen. Help each other out, man.
Yeah.
You know, we got one country. That's it. We got one country. We got one earth. Like, you don't want to see a civil war going on in your own country, because we've seen it in other countries, and it's ugly, and we don't want any part of that, because we're not. We should be better than that.
Yeah.
And so that's my don't be that guy for this week. And then moving forward, you know, we have tell me something good. Justin, why don't you tell me something good?
Well, you're going to like this. Tell me something good, Saul.
Right.
You're going to like it a lot, because it involves your favorite basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan.
I'm listening.
Michael Jordan. So earlier this week, Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin teamed up, and now there is a Team Jordan racing in NASCAR now. And Bubba Wallace has joined Team Jordan, and he's going to ride with the number 23 car.
Yes, sir.
Which is so great, you know, because Bubba Wallace, he's a lone fish. He is the only African American currently driving in NASCAR right now. And it seems like when Bubba Wallace was really into the news, it seemed like it was like last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago.
But it was only a few months ago. And I thought that NASCAR took a huge step forward this year when they said no to the conservative flags. And
Confederate flags.
Or Confederate flags, excuse me. The Confederate flag is a symbol of hatred, bigotry, and
to a lot of people.
Sure.
A lot of people. And we have to be fair when it comes to this, because there are people that don't view it as such.
Sure.
You know,
but
to them, it represents the historic South and all this other stuff, where the historic South to anybody of color is not something that we want to be represented. But again,
exactly,
that viewpoint is out there.
Exactly. And, you know, it's the history behind it. It's to me, it's very un-American. But listen, if it's a part of your Southern heritage, and, you know, you get a sense of pride in that flag, then more power to you. You know, that's on you. But I'm just looking at history and what that flag has represented. And when NASCAR said that flag would no longer be a part of the sport, you know, it really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And then there was, you know, the Bubba Wallace incident where they thought that it was a noose hanging down from his garage, which looked like a noose. Sure. It really did. But apparently it was from previous races. But that race in particular, they understood Bubba Wallace because he was hurt. And he thought that it was a message to pretty much get him out of NASCAR, and it was a threat to him. And to see Bubba Wallace and all the NASCAR drivers stand in uniform and walk down the racetrack with him, I thought that was a huge step forward for the sport of NASCAR, and made me love NASCAR even more. And now that Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, the guy that actually loves himself some NASCAR, he decided to get into the sport, start his own team. And I think this could be really revolutionary for the sport of NASCAR. And, you know, as soon as I heard that him and Denny Hamlin were teaming up and creating Team Jordan, I was like, yeah, Saul's going to like this a lot.
By the way, the NASCAR championship is here in Phoenix this year. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, it's in the, I think it's November 4th, something like that. So for the first time ever, and it's just unfortunate that it's in this pandemic. But I will say this: my Tell Me Something Good is very simple, very straight to the point, nothing crazy. The University of Arizona, the basketball team got notice of allegations this week, and my Tell Me Something Good is, for those of you who support the program and those of you who love that program, right? It's really just time to move on. It's really just time to move on. It's time to just kind of, you know what, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And my Tell Me Something Good is the way that I have managed to get through this whole thing is I care about the teams, I care about the players, but I just got to stop caring about what's about to happen, because living your life in a world of anxiety is just not going to help you out. So my Tell Me Something Good is keep your mental health strong and just ignore what's about to happen, because it ain't going to be good. And it might not come for another 4 years. Who knows? Because there's going to be so many lawsuits. I don't even know what's about to happen.
I was wondering where you were going with that. You're like, tell me something good. The Arizona basketball program hit with a bunch of allegations, like level 1 infractions that could get them banned from the NCAA tournament and loss of scholarships. I was like, whoa, where's he going with this?
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of Michael Scotted that up at first. I was like, sometimes I just start a sentence. I don't even know where it's going. I just keep talking until I figure it out. So, but yeah, I just. You can ask any of my coworkers, there's some ASU guys who are like, oh, you guys are going to be, I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I really don't care. I don't care. I don't. Because you know why? I didn't do it. And I don't care if they did it. Like, I don't, because it has nothing to do with me. Does it affect the school that I love? Yes. Like it does. And it sucks, because if you know the history of that program, it's like, man, it shouldn't happen. But at the same time, like, dude, I'm not in Sean Miller's ear. I don't know what he's doing. I don't care what he's doing. Like, I just don't. We're talking about college athletics. And truth be told, we're talking about players getting paid, which is a whole nother discussion. And I just don't understand it, and I don't care. So I just move on. Anyway.
Saul.
Yeah.
I just checked fantasy, and you're up 107 to 105.
I'm up?
You're up by 2 points.
Ooh, that tattoo's coming, baby. That tattoo coming. Why did you say that? That was the dumbest thing you could have ever said. Oh my gosh, I am up. 107.
I didn't say it had to be a permanent tattoo.
What are you gonna get? What was it called? A henna tattoo.
We get a
twirlies.
Total BS butterfly tramp stamp.
Yes, there you go. A Panama City license plate. Do it. Do it. Absolutely. Interception, Russell Wilson. Take some points away from my boy. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Patrick Peterson just intercepted him in the end zone. So anyway, that's our episode of the Total BS podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Justin, tell them where they can find us.
Well, it looks like I'm getting tatted up.
That's right.
But you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And for the video live stream, give us a subscribe and leave some comments. Let us know what you think on our YouTube account, on our Twitch page, and also on Facebook, and give us a like on Twitter and Instagram as well. Total BS Podcast. We are everywhere. Just search us up on any platform, social media, video, whatever, and give us a like and a follow.
Absolutely. And just for those of you who don't know, we will not be here next weekend. No Sunday night stream, Sunday live stream next Sunday. We're going to take a little bit of a hiatus, a little break, but we will be back the week after that. Justin and I are kind of retooling a lot of different things, and we just want to make sure that when we come back, we're fresh. And you know what? Every Sunday, we've done this every single Sunday for now, I think 23 straight weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We need a mental health day, people. We need a mental health day. So we're going to take one next Sunday. And this week we will not have any other podcasts as well. So we'll have a week off, and then we'll come back large and in charge 1 week from this upcoming Thursday. So that way you can follow us then. But until next time, we appreciate the love, and we'll see you when we see you. Peace.
Your fans just might turn into all fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us, yo. Your fans just might turn into all fans. Be cool, it's just part of the program.